Sword Art Online is divisive. While there is a fairly chill yet sparse fan group backing the show's very existence, which no hate to them, this is actually such a nice community, many people agree that the show is at best mid and at worst plain garbage. As for where I fall on that spectrum, I believed it had potential to the point where when I watched it for the first time 2 years ago, I was so hyped by the very concept of the show that I binged the entirety of Season 1 in a single night, accomplishing my first all-nighter. I vividly remember the story taking a nosedive to the point where, midway through the second arc, I just kinda accepted it was trash and pushed myself to finish it. Despite my disappointment over this anime, I was still fascinated by how quickly it turned out to be slop, and how there were so many other things I wanted to see from it, which is precisely why today, I will add 10 points to Season 1 of Sword Art Online in an attempt to see if it could be salvaged. You might be wondering what authority I have to change the story, and to do that, I have to say, I don't. Let's get started. But first, I'll quickly recap Season 1, so for any of you who do not care, jump to this timestamp shown on screen to get straight into the improvements. And without further ado, let's begin for real. Esio's first arc, Aincrad, begins on release day of the game Sword Art Online. We find out that our main character, Kirito, was a beta tester for the game, meaning that he is more experienced than countless others. Naturally, some NPC asks our boy to teach him the ropes, but shortly into training, this bum begs him to quit for the day so he can inhale a pizza, like a worn-out, foul-mouthed, butthurt, ratchet, short-stacks, big-back-looking chud. When the NPC tries to log out, however, we learn that there is no logout button. An announcement is made by the creator of the game, who we will call SAO Stalin. Essentially, everyone is trapped until they can beat the boss on floor 100, and if their headset is removed or they die in game, they die in real life as well. Luckily, our boy Kirito just so happens to have a generic black haircut, and was a playtester, so living in this world should be light work for him. Oh wait, this is why they call him Kirito Clones, isn't it? Knowing all the best strategies to level up quickly, Kirito heads out alone, where he runs into Harem Girl number 1. This girl's name is Asuna, and she and Kirito group together to grind and clear the first dungeon with a guild. When Asuna asks Kirito to be partners, he tells her to join another team, because from that moment onwards, he decides that there's a conflict between demo players and everyone else, which would have been cool to see if it were actually true. Moreover, Kirito is too much of an alpha, lone wolf, aura farming kind of guy to do anything but solo level his way to the top. That's why, in the following episode, he joins a guild. Under the influence of belief perseverance, he still believes everyone hates demo players, so insert the introduction of the "I will hide my real powers and act like an ordinary person" trope. That decision was a terrible one and resulted in his entire group being wiped out. Riddled with guilt, Kirito vows to never kill or never let anyone be killed in his presence, which is why when Harem Girl number 2 pulls up, he chooses aura farming and goes back on his promise once more. Why? Certainly not because the only option was that he had to save her. No, that would be too difficult for the mangaka to imagine. Instead, Kirito simply does this because he felt like it. One merit of this scene, however, is that it does introduce red players. These players are evildoers who kill other people, and there was even a cult of them, as we would see later on. Why do I tell you this now? Because we only ever get to see 2 instances of them in the entire season, causing mischief with their ugly, arrogant leaders who smell so bad I could sniff the stench through the screen. With another isekai slop trope established, Kirito adds another girl to his harem collection, and we finally get to see Asuna for the first time in several episodes. After a couple episodes building their bond through missions which I actually did not mind, Kirito is challenged by the captain of the guild Asuna ended up joining, the White Knights. Somehow, our plot armor MC actually ends up losing, and as a result, he was forced to quit his lone wolf act and join up. What happens next episode? A, they go on more missions, or B, Kirito rematches this dude. If you said C, Kirito and Asuna leave, turning this previous plot point into a completely obsolete tidbit of information, then you'd be correct. Honestly, how did I not see this coming? While taking leave, apparently, Asuna and Kirito are married now, and they've found a kid in the forest, which creates the perfect trifecta. The happy family settles in a village, and they be side questing for real. Just another day or farming on the locals, I suppose. All this comes to an end, however, when Kirito and Asuna, 2 of the strongest characters in the verse, mind you, go into a dungeon on a floor 50 floors beneath them. Naturally, the group gets bodied, and their kid, Yui, who we just met 2 episodes ago, makes the ultimate sacrifice. Luckily, Kirito finds out that she was just a bug in the game, and so with his convenient computer programming skills that he has all of a sudden, he saves her into a USB. After that fiasco, the pair return to the front lines as if nothing happened. first day back on the job, and immediately Kirito is accusing the captain of hacking, which he claims he knew about the entire time. What's even more crazy is that this bold assertion was correct. The captain reveals himself to be SAO Stalin, and the two of them fight for real on floor 75 and floor 100, resulting in Asuna having to make the ultimate sacrifice, and Kirito then SAO Stalin in record time. SAO Stalin and Kirito then have a chat overlooking the simulation in the last moments of its existence. As Stalin explains that Asuna will survive, he also states that he was bored and wanted to commit mass genocide of his own people, giving us actually good closure. Okay, well, it doesn't sound good, but it works for concluding his character. What doesn't work is Kirito waking up with half the season still remaining and Asuna has not woken up. Apparently some creepy dude, who we'll call Creepy Dude, has Asuna trapped in a different game called Alfheim Online. Naturally, Kirito uses his headset to dive into the game and save this once powerful, now damsel in distress character. Along the way, he uses the USB to bring Yui back, as well as meeting an elf girl who becomes harem girl number 4. But wait, it gets worse. The harem girl is actually his sister, who is actually his cousin, who has secret feelings for him, so she started playing virtual reality games to find someone who could take her mind off of her brother, and it just so happened that the person he ran into was Kirito. Chat, are we cooked? Long story short, the three make it to the top, and Kirito faces off in an intense battle against Creepy Dude, leading to a very uncomfortable scene that I had to turn off during my first watch, and I didn't even attempt to watch on the second. After a clear violation, Kirito finds the strength from SAO Stalin himself, who uses the plot armor to give our MC creative mods that surpass Creepy Dude's, allowing him to free Asuna. Kirito then rushes to the hospital, but gets jumped by Creepy Dude IRL. So being the aura farming king that he is, Kirito shanks the dude and breaks into Asuna's hospital room. The season then ends with Kirito and Asuna discovering they go to the same school, and it shows us a quick conclusion of everyone who got screen time, which I thought was a perfectly fine conclusion to this pile of garbage. Now that we have covered SAO's plot, let's begin fixing it with a quick rule of thumb. The story has to start and end in the same way it does, but I am allowed to tweak, change, or add plot points. And finally, I will be excluding anything following season 1. So with that said, there are 10 different points that I'm going to be adding. Let's start with point number 1. This should be a 3-season show with different major conflicts for each season. What do I mean by this? All 3 seasons should be focused on the goal, which was presented in episode 1. Defeat the final boss on floor 100 to escape the game. However, each season should introduce us to different challenges, while still keeping our eyes on the prize. Season 1 could involve Kirito establishing himself as the strongest, but then encountering another strong player, which could simulate his character growth. Season 2 could be about the Red Player War, which was completely off-screened, by the way. That happened in Season 2, apparently, as like a flashback, so I guess that happened, bro. The final season could be about Kirito's final climb to defeating SAO Stalin. Point number 2. The final episode should be reworked. Kirito should defeat SAO Stalin and have his chat with him like he does at the end of Ironcrad, only it should take us to the end of the last episode in Season 1, where everyone wakes up and they have that solid conclusion without the unbearable Alfheim arc. Point number 3. There should be more and better characters. Of course, SAO is the father of Isekai slop, which means that we can really only have one copy-paste bland MC plus his harem and maybe Thing 1 and Thing 2 if we're lucky. But there should be people who can oppose Kirito and who can be memorable. But Haken, you might say, wouldn't they defeat the purpose of Kirito being the strongest aura farmer with his early access advantage? And to that, I have 2 answers for you. First, there's a difference between 2 people, one on level 8 and one on level 1, and 2 people, one on level 78 and one on level 71. Kirito only made it to floor 8 in the demo, so he would reach that point and be, for example, 8 times stronger than the average, but by the late game, when everyone leveled up at the same rate, Kirito would only be 1.1 times stronger. Again, we do not know if there is an exponential power curve, but you understand the idea. The second counterargument is that Kirito is not the only one who had early access. There were roughly 1,000 people, which brings me to point number 4, other demo players should have been introduced. We know that Kirito wasn't the only one who played the demo, so revealing maybe some cool-headed, white-haired character that could actually rival Kirito would make for a nice character foil. And it would also be a pretty interesting plot twist. Seeing Kirito as some untouchable guy who then actually gets held back could add some tension and stakes to the fight. And no, I'm not talking about SAO Stalin. Important characters could each have their own powers and abilities and use the power system. Wait a minute. Doesn't SAO already have a power system? Point number 5. SAO should use the power system. Sword Art Online has a list of skills and a skill tree, which was mentioned in a one-off comment by Kirito when he had to choose dual wielding. Did you know that there are actually a ton of skills, however? I sure didn't, but luckily, the author already had designed these just for them to never be used. I even read one once. It was like a lifesteal skill, but I couldn't find it when I was looking through, so I might just be coping. Regardless, more characters could have meant better use of a fully fledged battle system, which was a huge missed opportunity. Speaking of missed opportunities, point number 6, red players should have had greater effect. We got red players' introductions and a couple of side missions involving red players, but their presence in the story felt underwhelming, to say the least. And there was an entire war against them and the White Knights, which was just completely off-screen. It would have been fun to see this war and actually see Kirito get pushed back with underhanded tactics. Which leads me to point 7. Tactics and strategy should have been utilized. Jujutsu Kaisen is one of my favorite anime of all time. As should come to no one's surprise, seeing Kenjaku is my profile image. A big reason for this is the incredible depth and strategy to the fight scenes. Even shows prior to SAO such as Code Geass had incredible strategy in fights, which kept said fights engaging and actually added reason for one character turning the tables on another. It would have been interesting to see Kirito early on employ these maneuvers because he understood the game better than others, but as time went on, others would catch on to such exploits and maybe even use them against him, thus pushing Kirito and allowing him to learn from his experience. Wait a minute, he can't do that. He's already alpha. Point number 8. Kirito should have plot points too. Did I really say it? The black-haired ore farming OPMC has growth? I know, it sounds bad, but hear me out. Early on, we had several good opportunities for Kirito to have an internal conflict. When he was invited to a group, he wanted them to appreciate him, so he hid his true strength from them, which ultimately ended up leading to the entire group getting slaughtered. Kirito carried this guilt, but then slowly learned to overcome it. This would have eventually led to him agreeing to join with the White Knights, rather than just switching ideologies completely. Which, by the way, point number 9, Kirito should not just change his stance on viewpoints. Kirito switches up twice, both times defeating any sense of tension as well as dissolving the story. And that's just in Season 1 alone. I really think that if we had more time with Kirito, instead of just getting half a season of a Rush Ironclad arc, then we could have actually seen Kirito grow and change and gradually switch his viewpoints rather than just switching up immediately. And finally, point number 10, Yui. Okay, I knew we'd have to get here eventually, so where do I begin? I understand that a lot of people really like Yui, but her entire arc was terrible. And if we're only taking Ironclad into account here, then she really does not need to be here, so it would probably be best to get rid of her. Yui was introduced in an arc that was meant to build Asuna and Kirito's relationship. This arc, however, killed what little pacing there was to begin with. And what was the end result of this arc? Kirito and Asuna returned to the White Knights, so essentially, nothing. There could have been so much more room for Kirito and Asuna to develop their relationship in better ways, with extended runtime only focusing on Ironclad. That definitely could have been the case. There is no reason whatsoever that Kirito and Asuna should have left the story itself to have a 4-episode long saga when it's not going to accomplish anything of value. In conclusion, Sword Art Online is not good, let alone perfect. But even though it could have been that, I think it's okay that we got what we got. Because Sword Art Online paved the way for generations and countless isekais to come. It is the father and the de facto template of isekai. And you know what? At the end of the day, I think there's something beautiful about that.